Hi, and welcome to CityBeat inside Palo Alto. I'm P.A. Moore. We've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to learn about mud shoes out at the Baylands. We'll meet some members of the police force. We'll learn about alternative vehicles. Plus, we have trash busters, the history corner, and more. Do stay with us. Lee Higginbotham is here to tell us about mud shoes. Lee's a ranger with the Palo Alto Baylands area. Lee, show us mud shoes. Well, first tell us, what are they used for?
Well, we have these mud shoes that there are times when we have windsurfers out here that get stuck in the mud on occasion. We have dogs that run out off leash into the mud and they get stuck. We have some resource management, non-native plants out in the mud that we need to get out to remove. And also litter that blows from the landfill out into the mud. We need to go out to pick it up.
Okay, so mud shoes, sort of like snowshoes, we get a chance to walk on the mud. Now, show me how it's constructed. You have an example here.
I do. What we have here is we took a piece of plywood and we cut it out. It's approximately 18 inches long by about 12 inches wide.
Yeah.
And we took our own boots and mounted to the wood decking for a tighter fit. The orange plastic here cover up ventilation holes so that it will break the suction vacuum in the mud. On the bottom, we have attached a wheelbarrow inner tube that is covered with a ballistic type of nylon, a real strong, sturdy nylon, so that if we happen to step on any glass or the horse muscles that we have out here in the mud, it won't rip through and cut our inner tubes.
And you called this a ballistic fabric. What does that mean?
It's the same sort of material like they would wrap around a like body armor, kind of a Kevlar type. It's real tight and strong, tightly woven.
Okay, so you really did mean ballistic then. Okay, and then we're going to see an example in which one of the rangers is going to be walking on the mud. Is that correct?
Correct. We have a senior ranger, Darren Anderson, who will be going out in the mud and walking around to demonstrate how with these mud shoes, you approximately will only sink down 3 to 4 inches. We did have an animal control officer that went out after a dog without these, and the same location that Darren will be walking sunk up to his thighs.
And now I understand, though, now you're going to be, if a person, there's going to be something of a seesaw motion, so how does one keep one's balance wearing mud shoes?
That's a good question. You are a little off balance walking on these because of the wide deck. What we figured out was to get ski poles, just like your cross-country skiing, and use the ski poles to balance you in the mud.
Okay. Now, did you folks here invent mud shoes, or what's the history?
No, we didn't invent them. Mark Taylor over at East Bay Regional Parks had a pair that we saw a year or two ago, and he had bought them from a gentleman that had a business called Mudlux Inc. And what he did, he had a patent on them, and he would make them and sell them. But as he got older, he no longer had the desire to make the mud shoes, and he didn't want to release the patent. So we had to wait until the patent ran out, and then once the patent ran out, we were able to take a pair and make some adaptations to them so that we created our own shoe.
Well, so if I can't walk on water, at least I can walk on mud.
Certainly.
And so residents, if they want to come and visit the Baylands, I probably can't see a demonstration of this, but they can certainly visit the Baylands. Is spring a good time? Spring
is a great time. We're open from 8 a.m. until sunset.
Okay, super. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Steve Steiger and I are here at Memorial Church at Stanford University. Steve, what marks 2003 and Mem Chu?
Well, it's the centennial of the dedication of the church, which was in January of 1903.
And tell me, there have been some births and rebirths of this particular building.
Well, yeah, again, the building was begun construction in 1899, and the dedication was in 1903. But just 2 years later, in 1906, there was the earthquake, which severely damaged the building. The original building had a spire which fell down into the church and blew out the front facade, destroying the mosaics that we see behind us. The church was rebuilt beginning in 1908 and rededicated again in 1913. However, many years later, in 1989, once again, earthquakes were not kind to the church, and there was another severe case of damage, and another $10 million restored the church to its present condition.
Well, speaking of the condition, the mosaics outside are absolutely spectacular. There must be some history to those.
Well, yeah, they were designed and built by a firm in Venice, Italy. The proprietor of the firm had befriended the Stanfords at the time of Leland Stanford Jr.'s death when he died in Italy in 1884. Mrs. Stanford, when she decided to create the church in memory of her husband, hired the firm to design the original mosaics. And they were designed and put together in Italy, shipped over here along with some workmen who put them on the building. When the 1906 earthquake came about and destroyed them, once again the church was rebuilt using the same mosaic craftsmen from Italy, and they recreated, though not exactly the same pattern, on the church building.
So describe to me, what exactly is a mosaic?
Mosaic is a small series of small pieces of glass or tile that are put together to create a pattern, a picture, if you will.
Well then, if we're talking about small pieces of tile, then we're talking about hundreds of workmen, aren't we?
Well, we're probably talking about dozens of workmen in Italy over a long period of time, several years, to put the patterns together, and then several workmen were brought over here to California, and they spent another 2 years or so putting the patterns back up on the walls here at the church.
Are there other stories about the church, the interior, for example, or some of those fabulous stained glass windows that we would hear about through the Palo Alto Historical Association?
Yeah, we have some information on it, and there are actually several excellent booklets published by Stanford that would describe the church, the stained glass windows, the 4 organs that are in the church, as well as other attributes of the church.
You said 4 organs?
That's my understanding. There are now 4 organs. The original one, and then they keep adding them every couple of years.
And how would I get more information?
Come by and see us at the history desk at the Palo Alto Main Library, or look for the Stanford University Bulletin on the church.
Super. Thanks so much, Steve.
You're welcome.
I'm with Richard Dodds, the city's sustainability coordinator. Richard, tell us, what's today's segment about?
Well, today, PA, we're going to be looking at alternative fueled vehicles, electric, compressed natural gas, and hybrid vehicles.
That's a great topic, especially for our sustainability efforts, and we're at a really great location, too. Where are we?
Yes, today we're in front of the Foundation for Global Community, which is one of the leading environmental nonprofits in the country.
Terrific. Well, then I'm just going to hand the mic to you, and you can take it over and start with your next guest.
All right, thank you, PA. I'm here with John Ulrich, who is the Director of Utilities for City of Palo Alto. John, I see you brought a rather unique-looking vehicle with you here today. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, first off, it's a lot of fun to drive. It operates on battery, so we plug it in, charge it up, and then drive around town up to about 50 miles and come back.
That's terrific. Now, what are the benefits the city would see from operating an electric vehicle fleet?
Well, I think the primary benefit is we get to show all of our customers, people that own the utility, how we use electricity and some of the alternatives. And this is a perfect way of getting around town, not having a gasoline engine, and just being able to go back and forth and also improve the environment.
So an electric car would be an ideal thing for the average resident to run errands around town in?
Only if you don't want to go more than about 25 miles from home, but yes, it is.
I see we do have a limited range as far as the electric vehicles go. What do you think about this car personally? How do you like driving it?
Oh, actually, I love to drive it. First off, everybody sees you, so they get out of your way when you come by, and they stand on the corner kind of looking at it. The only downside I found is when you get to an intersection, sometimes people can't hear you because it's totally quiet, no sound at all.
So the fact that it's a much quieter vehicle is actually good for the overall noise pollution issue, though.
Oh, absolutely. And you can be stealth. You can just move around town and nobody can hear you.
Tell me, what about the power in a car like this? It's very small. It's run on electricity. What kind of acceleration does it have?
Well, it's very efficient, and it has considerable amount of acceleration. It's an electric motor, and when you push down on the gas, so to speak, it just gets up and moves. It has a top speed of about 50 miles an hour if you're kind of a daredevil, but around town, 25, 30, 35, just easy to maintain.
So we have plenty of power and acceleration for the around town type of driving.
Absolutely.
Well, excellent. Thank you, John. Next, we're going to look at hybrid vehicles. Those are the cars that have both an electric motor and a gasoline motor. Susan Stansberry with the Foundation for Global Community. Susan, what kind of a car is this here?
This is a Honda Insight. It's a hybrid and a super low emission vehicle.
It's a hybrid. What exactly does that mean?
That means it's an electric assisted gas engine.
So how often do you have to plug this in?
Never have to plug it in. You just go to the gas station a lot less frequently.
So what is it a car like this helps you do here at the foundation?
Well, this car gets me back and forth to work and other places, but it fits in with our vision to live, discover, and communicate what it means to benefit all of life. And it pollutes a lot less. It's indirectly it leads to world peace because we're using less resources, and so it's just better all for the environment and for humans.
So in other words, it helps you fulfill the mission of the foundation by using a lot less natural resources.
Correct.
Well, thank you very much, Susan.
You're welcome.
Randy Gomes with the City of Palo Alto Utilities Department has his own alternative vehicle. Randy, what kind of a car is it you're driving here?
Toyota Prius.
And what is a Prius?
Prius is a hybrid vehicle with a gas engine and electric motor.
And what's the difference between this and a traditional car?
Basically that you've got the gas and electric working together at the same time, and then when you come to a stop, the gas will shut off altogether and the electric runs on.
So it sounds like it's a much more fuel-efficient vehicle.
Oh yeah, much more than your basic standard sedan.
So what type of gas mileage do you get in a car like this?
I get anywhere between 48 to 50.
Wow, that's terrific. Do you have a long commute?
Yeah, I do, about 60 miles plus a day. I drive to Scotts Valley, back to Palo Alto every day.
So how much are you saving driving this car versus a traditional car?
I'd say close to 50% in gas.
Wow, that's terrific.
It is.
Tell me, what are some of the things your neighbors say when you drive up in a car like this? What are some of the questions they ask you?
Well, they say, where do you plug it in at, for one thing? What kind of gas mileage do you get? And I tell them, what I get, and then I'll say that I don't need to plug it in. And so that's basically the questions I get, from the neighbors.
Tell me, what are some of the things that made you decide to get a car like this, besides the increased efficiency? Were there some other environmental reasons why?
Well, yeah, it became that way, especially with the Iraq War starting off and all. I did think about that and how much I really can help by driving this, and how other people could too.
Well, Randy, I want to thank you for talking with us today.
Sure.
Richard Dodds has been giving us the grand tour of alternative vehicles. And now, with our last car, it's the CNG. But Richard, before we get to that, tell me overall, there are lots of different alternative vehicles in the city. So what are some of the numbers and what kinds of vehicles are there?
Well, PA, I believe that we have approximately 70 alternative fueled vehicles, which I think comprise about 20% of our total fleet. We have compressed natural gas, we have electric, and we have some of our heavy equipment out at the landfill being operated on biodiesel, which is a mixture of biodegradable oils and diesel fuel.
Ah, yes, that's that famous French fry oil that we hear about. But you mentioned the compressed natural gas. Tell me, how does that car work, and what are the advantages?
Well, it basically operates in the same way as a traditional internal combustion car or gas-powered car. One of the limitations is the range per tank. Some of the cars get only about 100 to 150 miles on a tank, and you need to have a fueling station. So if you're running out of gas, you're out of gas. There's just not any gas station that has compressed natural gas.
But I'm sure that situation is going to change, and in the future we'll have more. But isn't there some other advantage, like the diamond lane use?
Oh, yes, that's correct. With a clean air vehicle like the compressed natural gas, you get to go in the carpool lane with only one person. And it is a much cleaner burning car, so the overall emissions are much less in a car like this.
Well, super. Thank you so much, Richard. And residents, if you have questions or comments about anything we've talked about in terms of alternative vehicles or sustainability in general, do contact Richard Dodds. It's time to meet the force. Ron Lawrence is one of the newer members of our police force here in Palo Alto. Ron, you've joined the force at an interesting time with the change of leadership, with Pat Dwyer stepping down and Lynn Johnson coming in. Tell us how you see the changes coming.
Well, I think that it's going to be a very subtle change, because Chief Johnson has been with the department for many, many years, and she's very familiar with the community and the department, and very responsive to the needs of the city. So it's a change, but it's a very positive change at a very interesting time in the state budget, with the state budget crisis. And Chief Johnson has some outstanding plans and ideas for the future of our department.
And tell me, how do you see some of those budget things occurring, and how does that impact your job and why you were hired?
Well, at a city level, I think that the city and the police department are absolutely doing everything we can possible. And it's hard to anticipate what the state's going to do, obviously, but we have trimmed our budget absolutely as much as we possibly can. But as far as the service delivery to our citizens, we're doing everything we can to minimize the negative impact on our citizens. And so with Chief Johnson's taking over the leadership, it's important for us to, at this time, to really develop a positive relationship with our communities and create a lot of outreach so that we can develop a positive relationship.
And I believe that's where the neighborhood watch groups come in, and that's where you're going to be putting in a lot of effort. And tell us about how that's going to work.
It is going to be a lot of effort. As a patrol lieutenant, there's 4 of us in patrol that are responsible for the management of the patrol division. And Chief Johnson's philosophy is to really get to know our community and develop a partnership so that we can be responsive to the needs of the city. It's so imperative for a police department to understand where the concerns are coming from and what we can do to help our citizens. And without that relationship and the contacts, we would not be as effective as we are.
And so my understanding is that not only does a neighborhood watch deter the criminal, but it really enhances that relationship with residents, between police and residents. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Deterring the criminal activity, it can be short-term or long-term, but developing a positive relationship with the community is absolutely ongoing. And so the leadership of this organization is committed to long-term relationships with the city and the community we serve.
And how would a resident get more information about Neighborhood Watch and having some of the officers come and visit them?
Well, interestingly enough, they can actually contact any police officer who would be able to put them in the right direction or the right contact, or obviously any one of the 4 lieutenants in patrol. But also, if they contact the number at the screen, we can put them in contact with their local neighborhood watch area.
Super. Thanks so much, Ron.
Thank you.
Maya Spector and I are here at Children's Library to talk about summer reading programs. Maya, I guess my first question is, why do we need a summer reading program? Kids have so much to do already in the summer.
Well, they do, but we believe that reading is one of the primary activities that they should be engaging in. And there have been studies that have shown that kids that don't read over the summer often lose the reading gains that they've made during the school year. So we think this is our part in helping them keep up the reading abilities that they have cultivated during the year. It's our way of helping the schools and the teachers and the kids.
Well, I always knew that librarians were noble and angelic, so you've just demonstrated that even more. Now tell me, you have 2 different kinds of programs, one for kids, younger children, then another one for teenagers.
We do. We began separating out a teen program last year for the first time, and so this is our second year of a teen program, although the teens have always been able to join our program. We never set an upper age limit on it. We thought it was a good thing for them to have a program of their own. So there are 2 programs. There's also no younger age on our program. So the children who are not yet reading can be read to and still be part of the summer reading program as well.
Okay, what's your youngest age that you've had in here reading?
Oh, we've had babies, little babies.
Oh, wow.
That parents have signed up for the summer reading program.
And then tell me, so what is entailed in a summer reading program for a child?
What we do is have the kids sign up anytime. This year it's from June 12th through the month of June and the month of July. And they can do that in any one of the libraries in Palo Alto, except for the main library, which does not have children's materials. So the 5 other branches. Or they can sign up online. And that's something that we started last year, and it's working out very well, so they can actually sign up at home. When they sign up, what they do is set a goal for how many books they would like to try to read over the summer. We find that this works really well, rather than setting an arbitrary goal for them. So, for instance, many times you'll see libraries with a limit of you have to read 10 books during the summer. But for an older child going into 5th or 6th or 7th grade, they may read 3 very long books over the summer, and that's an accomplishment for them. And we don't want to say, well, that's not good enough. So we have the kids set their own goals, and you would be amazed at the goals that they set. It is not unusual to see kids reading 50, 70, 100 and more books over the course of the summer.
Wow. And how would a person get more information?
there will be information that will be sent out to all of the schools in Palo Alto. The libraries, all the libraries will have the brochure that explains the program and talks about all of our special programs in detail, or on our website.
Super. Thanks so much. It's been fascinating to hear about these programs.
Okay, thank you.
Charlie Cullen supervises the dispatch center at the Palo Alto Police Department. Charlie, what's the role of the dispatch center?
Well, Palo Alto Communications, which provides 911 services as well as a number of other services for the city, handles about 180,000 calls a year. We have the third highest call volume in Santa Clara County because we do more than just dispatch police and fire. We also provide a myriad of services for the citizens.
Okay. And tell me then, it must have some special training to be a dispatch officer with that kind of volume.
Yes, we have a very complete 10-month training program. It actually takes 10 months from the moment we hire someone until they can actually work as a dispatcher sitting alone on the circuit. We have an academy that's been developed by my co-manager, Laurel Morris, that is probably the envy of any other agency in the state, really.
And then tell me, if I were to call into 911, you're going to ask me a bunch of questions, or whoever's on the other end of the line. So what should I be prepared for?
Well, what we're going to want to know immediately is where is the emergency. If we get no other piece of information, that's the most important one, so we can send a response should the caller get cut off or for some reason be unable to speak. Secondly, we're going to ask what the nature of the emergency is. Is it a police emergency? Is it a fire emergency? Do you need paramedics? And then there is a number of other questions that the dispatchers are trained to ask to get more complete information before we send out an appropriate response.
Well, I know one time when my husband was ill, I had to call 911, and what's interesting is the first thing the person said was, "Stay on the line." I thought that was interesting. That's not something I would have expected. Is that something that you always do?
Not always, but oftentimes if there is an emerging incident where we need additional information, we will keep the caller on the line as long as possible or until help arrives.
Now, because I have personal knowledge, I can understand what 911 does in dispatch. How could a resident who's not involved learn something more about dispatch center?
Well, here in Palo Alto, we do offer the opportunity for citizens to do what we call a sit-along. That is, come in, plug in with a dispatcher, and actually hear the phone calls and radio traffic for a couple of hours during the course of a day or an evening. And we are happy to provide that to anybody who's interested.
Well, super. How would a resident then get in touch with you?
Well, they could call me at 329-2331, and I could set up a schedule that works for them.
Super. Thanks so much, Charlie. That sounds fascinating.
My pleasure.
Rob DeGose is Recreation Supervisor at Community Services. Rob, I know that the Enjoy catalog went online recently. Tell me, what's been the reaction?
Well, the feedback's been very positive. In the spring catalog, we went online, and 38% of all registrations were done online, which is really great coming out of the vote there. So we're really happy about that.
And I know that the big thing was summer camps and how you're going to handle summer camps, because people used to have to stand in line overnight, bunk out, bring the sleeping bag, pack a lunch, pack a dinner. So where are we now?
Well, that was a tough ordeal for parents to go through. This year we made some significant changes, moved away from the first come, first served system to a residents-only lottery we called The Draw. And the feedback on that has been really very encouraging, very positive. People love the convenience. They love the fact that it was fair for everybody. And the fact they didn't have to sleep on the pavement all night was a big hit. And enrollments are up over last year. So, we got a lot of people participating, which is great.
Well, now, that seems a bit odd that our enrollments are up. You had a new system, plus we have an economic turn down. So what are some explanations?
Well, I think the new system brought a lot more people back to the table of registration. The first come, first served event was so tough, many people just simply didn't participate. This year, although I think a few people liked that first come, first served and probably didn't like this one, but many more people came back and said, okay, I'm going to give this a try, this lottery. So we saw a lot more parents participating. As far as the economy goes, I think that people are staying home more, and so they're looking into local programs a little more than maybe going to those private camps that are a little further away. So we're experiencing more enrollment, I think, as a result.
Well, given that we're experiencing more enrollments, then the next question is, what is left out there for a parent who was not able to make a decision, had plans up in the air? How do they find out about any vacancies?
Well, the best place is the website, and there are still spaces available in some summer camps, actually quite a lot. There's a whole range of sporting camps. A couple of highlights. Sailing camp is one that's a lot of fun at Shoreline Aquatic Center. Kids love soccer, where kids learn all about soccer, not just how to play, but also the strategies of soccer. And that's for preschoolers to 11 to 12-year-olds. There's also a couple of science camps that are still open. Green Thumbs Camp at Gamble Gardens, which is really a fun camp. So there's still space available. The best place is to look on the website.
Well, I noticed that your eyes lit up when you were talking about soccer. So as an Australian, football, soccer, is there something else going on here?
Well, soccer is pretty popular in Australia, but you know, Australian rules football is the real game in Australia, which is a lot of fun. But what I'm going to do for residents is put, starting May 1st, I'll put a document on the website that lists all the camps that still have available space, and I think that'll be helpful for people.
Super. Thanks so much, Rob.
Okay. Thank you.
The recycling program and the Palo Alto Daily News have teamed up again to bring you the biennial Palo Alto Citywide Garage Sale. The sale will be held on June 7th. Palo Alto residents that have signed up are pulling out, dusting off, and polishing up their old items, from pianos to fish waders, hand-milled soaps to golf clubs. So you can't miss this sale. Come on out, enjoy the great weather, find a few bargains, maybe a few treasures as well, and have a great time. Maps will be available in the June 4th and June 7th editions of the Palo Alto Daily News. They'll also be available online at the recycling program in late May. The recycling program encourages you to buy, sell, and donate used items to help increase the awareness of reuse. Reuse is really a great way not only to reduce the amount of waste that goes to landfills, but also reduce the amount of environmental impacts associated with material extraction, processing, consumption, and disposal. This is Wendy Hediger reminding you not only to shop the garage sale on June 7th, but also to reduce, reuse, recycle, and buy recycled.
Thanks for watching City Beat inside Palo Alto. I'm P.A. Moore. Remember, if you have any questions or comments about the show, be sure to send them to the email address listed at the end of the credits. See you next time.